Well, there's some very interesting things happening right now in the cultural sphere. Some very interesting things. Now, if you are independent, any sort of an actual centrist, a conservative, a classic liberal, you know most of the people that have currently been feuding. And I'm not here to talk about the individual feuds. It's a bit of an annoyance, but it represents a dangerous point. We were a united front. Even though the viewpoints were different, the sensibilities, the morals, were a little bit different. There was unity there. Now, there isn't. Now there's animosity, trash talking, feuds, and various personalities who like to claim moral high ground, may have moral high ground, have different egos, but they're all doing things in their own way, and understandable. That's the way it should be. But the unity is gone. The united front that stood against very ignorant people who do not listen to reason. The front that was there in the culture war against them is now gone. Hell of a thing. Kind of sucks. Kind of really sucks, but these things happen. A lot of the personalities that have been at it for a while have gotten tired. They're worn out. You spend 5, 6, 7 years trying to explain to people what's actually happening and getting attacked for it the whole way. And then everyone just turns on you at the drop of a hat. And this has happened to several people recently. Instead of stopping and looking at each individual perspective and having empathy, a willingness to compromise, to understand, to agree to disagree, the idea that we must choose sides has now pervaded our side. A side that was accepting of everyone, a side that begrudgingly said, hey, we may not agree on all of this stuff, and our views on these specific things are different, but we can work together. That's gone now. For whatever reason, that's gone now. Right at a terrible time, too. Right when we just heard the most ridiculous lie of a State of the Union address. Let me sum up the State of the Union for you. It's real simple, it's real quick. The Union is fractured. The Union is collapsing. Our economy is in the gutter. Our government lies to us. Agencies within the federal government have been running roughshod all over the Constitution. Political factions destroy not only our states, but our federal government. And half the population are so indoctrinated that even when they're turned on by their own people, they accept they are the wrong ones. Whereas the other half of the population, which had been unified, is now further fractured. The Union is Union in name only. We have no borders. Our laws on immigration hold no weight. We have no sovereignty. Our government failed to defend our borders against a foreign aggressor, and then tried to turn around and pass it off as if they had done a good job when they shot it down on the other side of the country, and then turned around and tried to lie and say it happened 3 times in the previous administration, though every single little thing that they could have thrown at the foot of the last president, they tried to throw at the foot of the last president. Chinese spy balloons flying over the country would have been devastating for the last president. For this one, somehow they champion him not doing his fucking job, and then celebrate the fact that he shot it down over the Atlantic, although there is damn near nothing in Montana. They could have shot it down there. Hey, funny fact, it went over Alaska. There is jack shit in Alaska, especially now that the current administration has destroyed our nation's oil production. It's nothing going on in Alaska. They could have shot the fucking thing down there. They could have shot it down over the Aleutians. But they didn't. Our elected officials in D.C., in the Congress, are a joke. An absolute joke. And it is kind of funny because everyone does forget exactly how Congress is set up, but yelling in the House, that's normal. Yelling at State of the Union addresses is normal. These are not new things. These are not the most recent repugnant action. These are things that have happened throughout the entirety of our history up until this century. But everyone is quick to forget. I mean, it's like when the speaker vote went on and on and on. Everyone was quick to forget that that is actually how the process is supposed to work. And that the way it's been going has been a usurpation. But you'd have to be educated to know that. And as you have government education in the United States, the education is severely lacking where it matters. Saw today that entire city's school district has failed. That their students cannot do math to their grade level. In fact, they're two years behind. That's government education for you. The fun thing is, it's in a city, which makes it even more fun because that is one specific political party's city, and it's been that way for decades. But again, to the whole point of this, the concerning thing is the old guard for one side of the culture war has fractured, is showing extreme signs of fatigue. They're war weary because they are fighting a war. They're fighting a war against an oppressive, absolutely tyrannical segment of our society that believes they are correct and that everyone else's opinion is wrong. And so therefore they decide what we will do. Shit, they want to ban these. You could be 18 and buy these when I first started. You could be 18 and buy smokes. Why? Because you were old enough to sign up to go and die for your country. Before the federal government got involved, the states decided how old the drinking age was, and then the federal government blackmailed the states and said, hey, we won't fix the interstate highways in your state with federal money, although that is the express purpose that Congress has the ability to tax, is to fix our infrastructure. They used it as a bargaining chip to gain power. We don't have a constitutional government in the United States. That's why the culture war is so important. Because we need to win out the culture. And now our warriors, our generals, are fighting amongst themselves. It's the collapse of our side. I can understand their frustration. I'm not some big name on the internet. I am not even a big name on Twitter. But for as long as they've been bitching about politics in this government, I've been writing about it. A lot of the things they say I've said years ago. But I don't have a platform. I don't have a following. I'm just some guy who works on a farm. Overeducated and underemployed, according to the government of 2010, when they cut all funding for history programs in the United States, hence putting me out of a job. Yeah, fun stuff there. Walking out of college into a curator position, and all of a sudden, hey, we can't pay you. But, stay as long as you can, do this. And then we got into a fight because it's a history museum about veterans. And one particular board member and I got into a feud about how to present the Vietnam War. Fun stuff. Things aren't looking good. There was something that I dabbled with, an idea that I dabbled with, that is a messed up idea. But you see, there are citizens, and then there are American citizens, and there is a difference. Citizens have all the rights and protections, but they do nothing to uphold those rights and protections for their fellow citizens. Whereas American citizens hold to that Constitution, hold to it in their daily lives. And when somebody fucks around, they call it out. People misconstrue my viewpoints because they don't want to listen past a certain point, because they don't care. They hear one thing, and suddenly that's what I'm saying. Like talking about aliens. I'm not talking about the space kind. I'm talking about the ones who are here illegally. They're not immigrants, they are aliens. That is the legal term for it. That is the term in U.S. law. They are aliens. Now we have resident aliens for some reason. But we have these things called legal residents. But when they bitch, the one side bitches about how we're so fucked up on immigration, well, let me tell you something. Breaking the law to get into our country, which only exists because of our laws and our holding to those laws unilaterally, without exception, for whatever reason, then we have a country. We don't have that right now. The other day, activists took over a state capitol. It was much the same as January 6th was. However, they were protesting. They stopped the function of their state government, but they didn't call that one an insurrection, now did they? No, they did not. Why? Because those people were fighting for a moral cause. Excuse me for burping. A moral cause. Really? Really? Where do you get your fucking morals? It wasn't right when they did it on January 6th. It's not right when they did it the other day. It's still a crime. It's still a riot. It's not an insurrection. Shit, if we were to hold every single instance of political rioting in official federal buildings to the same standards as January 6th, there'd be a hell of a lot of people in fucking prison right now. A hell of a lot more people who don't have their constitutional rights being honored by the very government meant to protect those rights. Do you know there are still people from January 6th that are in prison, have not been to trial, have not had hearings. They've been in prison. You have a right to a speedy trial in the United States. It's been 2 fucking years. 2 years. They haven't had a trial. That's not speedy. The federal government has stripped those citizens of their rights. And half the country loves it. A lot of people sit there and go, oh my God, a civil war is coming. You guys are all fucking stupid. We're in a civil war. It's a war of words right now. And again, the side that actually is holding to our nation's values, ideals, and everything, just fractured. Yay! Your egos do so much! It's a war of attrition. And the cult is winning. Why? Because they don't fucking care. They don't hold to their morals. To them, the ends justify the means, regardless of how many people fucking die. Did you know there were 2 politicians murdered in New Jersey this week? Did you? Yes, 2 politicians, both of which were Republicans, both of which were murdered. Tell me again who the extremists are. Tell me again who the threat to the nation is. Pretty sure it's an old muppet with somebody's hand so far up his ass his mouth moves, saying that he is a unifier as he vilifies half the nation and makes it okay for the other half of the nation, his people, the people who don't care, the people who just believe that they are in the right, the people who believe that no matter how many bodies they need to stack, they will win. He incenses them with rhetoric that is so much more dangerous than the last guy. But the last guy was called Hitler. Don't do it, cat. Or do it. I understand why our side is fracturing. I get it. They're ragged. They're tired. They're getting attacked on the most minuscule of things. People expect them to ask, do, say what those people want them to say. Other people feel like they need to chime in with specific names. This does not work for us. This doesn't work towards the end that we need to get to. Shit, my state, we lost our House of Representatives. Why? Because of fucking cities. Because cities only ever vote for one faction in the state of Pennsylvania. And that faction's been fucking those cities for so long, those cities just bend over and take it. Don't. Stay down there. Stay down there. Sorry, she gets agitated when I'm talking and then she tries to bite me. I don't feel like getting bit. Our side's losing its generals. And there is no way for any smaller people from our side to gain the traction necessary to be any sort of a threat to the opposing faction, their connections, their money, and their ability to royally fuck anyone who stands up against them. I never thought someone with pronouns in their bio would oust the only honest investigative reporter in the United States. But him did that. Him did that. Through dirty means, if you have morals. But they don't have morals. Shit. Our side can't even agree on things, right? I'm a constitutionalist. I have been an independent voter my entire voting life. When I registered at 18, I registered as an independent. Why? Because both sides were talking stupid back then. And both sides aren't supposed to have the power they have. But you see, I had civics in high school, and if you didn't get a B in that class, you had to repeat it. Besides, the Enlightenment theories that led to the political theorists that spawned the ideas that would create our nation, they had some really interesting things to say. And those thoughts and processes and ideas remained. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's in our Declaration. Jefferson had it, put it in there. In today's day and age, they'd call that plagiarism because it was life, liberty, and property that he took those ideals from. Stop. Just stop. She's not used to me being up this early, well, this late and doing this, but I'm working on something. Just taking the time to do this in between because I just did the dishes and figure I'd do this. Nations rely on culture, a shared culture. A belief and adherence in the laws. A justice system that works. And a government that does what it's supposed to do, protects their livelihoods, their lives, and their property. We don't got that anymore. We don't have a shared culture anymore. We had one. It was nice. It was really great. Christ, we even all pretty much came together by 2006 and we're like, well, you know, this war is bullshit. Whole nation was kind of sick of the war. But then the focus changed, didn't it? The focus changed. Suddenly we stopped worrying about this war that George Bush started because Obama came in. And Obama promised a bunch of shit that he never delivered. Well, he didn't deliver hope. He delivered change. He drastically changed how our population interacted. He took things that had been cooled down. Race, for instance. It was not as big of an issue at the turn of the century as it is now. Why? Because the narrative changed. It wasn't about our commonalities. It wasn't about the fact that we had communities. We were trying to do better. We were trying to get better. We were doing what we were supposed to do. No. It suddenly became an us versus them thing. And that was the first division that Obama implemented. The first. The Democrats continued this shit. Basket of deplorables, xenophobic, homophobic, woman hater, misogynist. You're a racist if you voted for this guy. No. No. He was the better choice out of the two in 2016. Why? Because he wasn't a corrupt piece of shit. Still wondering how Hillary gets to walk around free, but, I'm not a connected person. My family isn't in government. My family has not been in government for the past 150 fucking years. But Hillary's has, and they've been very instrumental in what happens to this country. The Rodhams fucked us over several times. But hey, who pays attention to history anymore? Not the United States. If we did, you dumb fucks would realize we've never had a civil war here. It never happened here. We call the War of Southern Secession the Civil War because of revisionist historians. I don't even want to call them historians. They revise facts to suit their narrative. Woodrow Wilson changed how our nation functioned with bullshit history. History that he wanted to change because it was not favorable for his viewpoints. Come at me with that one, huh? You revisionist historians, you talking pundits from the left, come at me with that and we'll have a discussion. But they won't. Nobody wants to talk about that shit. No one wants to talk about the fact that Wilson should have been removed. Because he had a fucking stroke. Wait, shit. Fetterman's had strokes. He had another one the other day. Holy shit, but he's still in. Why? Because it's ableist. If you turn around and you say he can't do the job. No. He can't do the job. You people are just psychotic. You don't take someone who stocks shelves, throw them in a butcher, and say, hey, now cut the meat, no training. You don't take someone who's one-handed and say, hey, man, lug around these 2 heavy bags. You don't take someone with no legs and say, hey, test out these shoes. Shit, nowadays you do. Our nation is dying. Hell, it's already dead. The politicians are stripping it for all it's worth. Ooh. Oh, it'd be funny as hell if there actually is an investigation into Joe Biden. He's so fucking deep in the shit, he'll take down so many fucking people with him unless they murder him first. I'm sorry. It's Epstein them now, right? He's gonna be Epsteined. Thanks for that one, Hillary. Our side's fractured. We're losing the war. They have every single means to silence us, to change the thinking. And this is something that our nation has done since before we were even a nation. You ever wonder why the Boston Massacre is such an important thing? Because we got the news out first and we fucking changed the story. So long as you get a story out first, everyone's going to believe that and everyone else has to prove that story false. And today, nobody stops to actually check the facts before they start spouting bullshit. The shootings in California a few weeks back. White supremacists did it, right? No, it was 2 older Asian men. Not a single white fucker involved, guys. Sorry to disappoint. The cops took out Tyree Nichols. White guys! No, shit. It was a bunch of black officers. Poorly trained black officers from an affirmative action situation. There's no meritocracy here anymore. It's victim culture. I'm a victim because I can't do it myself. Because somewhere along the line, someone oppressed someone way back in the day. Fuck all y'all. Fuck every single one of yous who thinks like that. There's the gist of it. Fuck you. Only blacks can be slaves. Fuck you. You ever hear what Cromwell did to the Irish? Probably not, because it's white on white crime. You want to know the most recent slave trade instance that happened? It happened under Obama, because he involved us in Africa, where he said we weren't, but we were. And then suddenly the slave trade starts right back up in Nigeria. Oh shit, that's our government's fault. Oh shit, that's on orders from on high, from the untouchable Mr. Grace himself. And you fucking cultists just eat that shit up. The most calm, rational, logical voices on our side of the war are no longer calm, rational, and while they are logical, the way they've been presenting things doesn't help anybody. It's a bunch of infighting meant to divide us, and it has. Now we're forced to pick sides within our own side, while the other side just continues on about their merry fucking way, claiming we are the most vile creatures on the face of the earth as we try to protect their rights as much as ours. Why is Biden so keen on reminding us that we couldn't possibly do it with AR-15s? That he has F-15s and that's no match for an AR-15? Because he needs us to turn around and say we can't do this. Even though nobody wants to do it. He needs us to be afraid of the very thing that we control. Because they don't want us controlling it. We control the government. The government works for us. It's not the other way around. And our governments have not been working for us. But even the people that vote for the people that then go on to fuck us all over, they are too afraid to admit that they have fucked up. I mean, shit, they turn around. How many people I've talked to, like, hey, how's that Biden vote going for you? And like, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to talk about it. Like, no shit, you don't want to talk about it. This is your fucking fault. Why do you keep bringing it up? Because it's your fucking fault. You did this with your ignorance. You did this with your faction. You did this because you believed in something that was so unbelievable. Something that if you knew any little minuscule thing about how our government works, you would have known it was a lie from the fucking start. Oh, we're gonna pay off student loan debt. How? How? That shit ain't coming from the house, which means it ain't coming. We're gonna shore up Social Security. How? You guys keep taking money out of it, never paying that money back, and then just, oh, we'll just print more money. How has the Fed not been audited? How? It's not part of the government. The Federal Reserve is not part of our government. It's an independent body. How are they doing what they're doing? Because no one is doing anything. No one is stopping them. No one is turning around saying, hey. And if they are turning around saying, hey, someone further up the chain, someone that's supposed to work for them, is turning around going, oh, I'm not going to do it. Because they don't work for us anymore. They do as they please. They work for their faction. And when someone turns around and stands up for their constituents, for their morals, for their ideals, they get ostracized by the very people who are controlling the message. Telling you, this isn't right, although they're telling you a lie. Let's see if we can recover. Because the old breed's going bye-bye. And they are not letting anyone else rise to the occasion. Not the old breed. The opposition. because they control the means of communication. And that is the most important thing when you're trying to win a war. Controlling the means of communication, controlling the message, and they are doing it, and they are using all of their power to do it. So huzzah! Hooray! Let's see if I can even post this, because it's YouTube. And we all know YouTube loves to censor things.